And thank you everyone for tuning in to another edition of Real Talk on this Friday at 10 o'clock on 92.5 WLSD The Vault. As you know, we have a new movie every single week, and tonight we have a special guest in studio. We have Aaron Lee in studio as we're going to be talking about Army of Darkness. Aaron, thank you for joining.
Thank you for having me.
And I have a very fond memory of Army of Darkness in my mind from when I first saw it. We're going to dive into that, into the show more and more with the movie. But before that, please get into the social media pages. That's the Facebook, Spotify, YouTube, and Instagram, The Other People's Show. Numbers are growing, so much appreciated. There was a TikTok, but I was locked out of the TikTok. So, therefore, I don't have it right now.
No tiki-taki.
No tiki-taki. Do you have a TikTok or anything?
No.
No? Do you have, are you one of social media, like, really, or no?
Like, I have a TikTok, but I don't ever go on there, really.
Right.
I'm a Facebook Shorts kind of guy. I just want to watch my hospital videos.
Me too.
And little things.
Well, it's got to the point now where there's like Facebook, Spotify, there's YouTube, there's Instagram, there's TikTok, and then there's like an assortment of others.
Yeah, I try not to scroll, like infinite scroll.
It's just time wasters.
Yes, but you fall into it really easy.
I think so too.
So I try not to.
Yeah.
A man of the times.
Yes. I was watching, you know Vince Gill, right?
Oh, yes.
So I watched on a reel today that Vince Gill had said he had never sent a text message in his life. And can you imagine?
I imagine that hard to believe. Yeah, I do. But
that'd be crazy. Like,
he's a caveman.
He is. Not knowing, probably hearing of social media, but never being on it. Can you even fathom that?
Yeah, because we were kind of like the last generation that grew up with that, you know, because now everybody has the cameras and their phones and all that stuff. And I'm so glad that there were not phones and cameras tracing my moves as a child.
Me too. I like think back sometimes and I'm like, I'm so glad that it isn't like that. Because what if we, like, some of it would be good. You'd have those memories, but some you would be like, oh, this could get me in so much trouble.
Oh, yeah.
Or it's good that you only have it as a memory, not like an actual...
I'd rather have them there than you had to go get a Polaroid or one of those disposable cameras back in the day, you know?
Yeah. You did. I had to go get it developed at 1 Hour Photo or Walmart.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, we're going to dive into Army of Darkness. And this is the third in a trilogy of The Evil Dead. So when Ash Williams is accidentally transported to 1300 AD, he must retrieve the Necronomicon
Ex Mortis
and battle an army of the dead in order to return home.
Yes, the book never made for the land of the living.
No. And that's basically the premise. Now, my first memory of this... I remember seeing the TV spots for it, you know, the trailers. But I also, when it came out on VHS, I went to one of the video stores, Video Depot, which is near, in Wise. It was near where, like, on the outskirts of town, across from, like, the funeral home.
Yeah, and Video Depot 2 was on the other side of town.
Yes.
And then there's Video World and Video Hut between those two.
Yes.
So we were covered.
We were cocooned with all these great video stores. So I went to one of the video stores, and they had like a little keychain with Army of Darkness on it. Like a little, I don't know, it was like a little rubbery keychain thing.
Like a file.
Yeah, like it was out of like this kind of material on my key. And it had the Army of Darkness, and it had the poster, which is Bruce Campbell with the chainsaw. He's a chiseled Bruce Campbell.
The infamous chainsaw.
Yes. And then you and I watched it one of the times when I stayed at your house as a...
We were what, probably 13 when did this movie come out? And
92, it was released in 92.
So we were probably...
And so it was probably video in 93.
Yeah,
so
I hate to give her age up, but yeah.
Probably 13 years old.
We were 13, 14 years old.
And that was one of my first times ever watching Army of Darkness. So whenever I go back to it, that is one of the memories that I always relate to. So it's a good time going back.
It was super cheesy, but also like at the same time, the effects were kind of on point with what was going on, but they didn't have quite the same budget as some of the other horror movies, because this movie came out after the prequels, maybe 15, 20 years later.
Yeah.
I think the first Evil Dead was probably in late 70s.
Yeah. It was 79, I think.
Young Bruce Campbell.
Well, Into the Woods, the short film, was, I think, 79. The Evil Dead was 81, and then I think Evil Dead 2, 87, and then this one.
It took that long for them to come out? Because I really thought that they must have shot that all at the same time because it was so...
That's a cool thing that you mentioned that.
In West Virginia.
Yeah.
Everything was the same.
And I don't know if you can still visit that place now, but I think it's still... Is it still up or has it burnt down?
I saw something. No, it still exists, but I saw something about it where people were going and stuff. But I think it may have, people want to take pieces or write their names on stuff.
Yeah, so it's kind of over the years. Yeah. It's become.
It's still worth going.
Have you been?
No, but I wanted to.
Yeah.
Instead, I got stuck. We went to try to go see Jessica White.
Okay. Well, we got a phone call, but we're not taking calls tonight. But thank you all for calling anyway. Much appreciated. But director Sam Raimi came up with this movie with his friends, Bruce Campbell, and I think with his brother also, Ted Raimi. Didn't they three come up with it together?
Yeah, I think.
And Sam Raimi, he's the director of many, many movies that you've heard of. The Evil Dead, Evil Dead 2, Darkman, Army of Darkness. The Quick and the Dead, which was a Sharon Stone... Leonardo DiCaprio Western.
Yeah, but that was actually really good.
I've never watched it. Is it a good Western?
Yeah.
Okay.
It is. I think Leo's done a lot of good stuff, before he got his...
Before he blasted,
finally, yeah. But
I always heard this was a really good, underrated Western. And then you've got the Spider-Man movies, Drag Me to Hell, Oz the Great and Powerful, and then...
Drag Me to Hell reminds me of the new Evil Dead movie
a
lot.
It does me too. And Drag Me to Hell, I really enjoyed that. I thought that was a job well done.
Yeah, and I didn't expect the end of it. I was like, I know how this is going to end. Oh, surprise.
Yeah. And
actually
then
drug her to hell.
Yeah. And then the last one of his last movie directed was Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, which I haven't watched. Do you watch the Marvel movies?
Yeah. I watched them all once.
Okay. Have you watched this one?
Yes.
And how was that one? It looked pretty cool.
It was good. It's a lot.
Okay.
It's a lot to take in, of course, because with all of his CGI powers and stuff at his. But I don't remember Bruce Campbell in it.
Okay.
But he's played so many movies where he's just a quick cameo.
Yeah, and he's in every Sam Raimi movie.
And we were talking about that earlier. He was in Congo, and he was on the trailers for the Congo movie with the apes. And he died in the first 30 seconds.
So you really thought from the trailer that Bruce Campbell's going to be a major character?
Yeah.
Don't you kind of hate when they do that?
Yeah, because I really love Bruce Campbell.
Yeah, and you're like, dude, Bruce Campbell movie coming out, and then, he's dead in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
It's kind of like if they like when they put out Scream, like Drew Barrymore was in the trailer, and then she's dead in the first 10 minutes.
Yeah.
So same kind of thing with a lot of Bruce Campbell stuff. Do you have any favorite Sam Raimi directed movies other than, would you say Army of Darkness is your...
Army of Darkness is and The Evil Dead will always be like my favorite, but I did enjoy The Darkman, and also Oz the Great and the Powerful. I thought that was really...
I haven't watched that one.
Good movie.
But I almost did watch Darkman again the other night, because when I was looking up Army of Darkness, it popped up Darkman, and I was like, I haven't watched that in a long time.
I think that started with the Dark Horse Comics.
Okay.
Which was, like Marvel and DC.
Right.
There's Dark Horse, which is also cool because a fellow that we graduated with, Jeremy Massey, he just now had a comic book or it's
graphic novel, wasn't it?
Graphic novel.
Just last week, was it?
Yeah.
Was it last week?
Pressed
I'll have to
Dark
give him.
Horse.
He called into the old show when we did it up in DC, so I'll have to contact him and see if he wants to.
Big shout out to him.
Yeah, Massey, congratulations! There, he's in South Carolina too, isn't he? Is that where he's at?
His parents live in Pawleys, where I used to live.
Okay.
Like 2 years ago, but I don't know if he's down there or not.
Okay. Yeah, my sister was really good friends with his wife. She used to come over all the time when we were, early 20s, and but yeah, he called in. I guess back in. I forgot what he had. Maybe did he have a series or something that come out before?
Yeah, he had a series called The Holler, misfit.
Like bandmates and stuff, wasn't it?
Alternative band fellas that liked rock and roll and strange music.
Of the 90s. Doesn't it take place in the 90s?
They're stuck here in Wise County, kind of the Holler.
Right.
It's a double play, Holler and the Holler.
Right.
And you have to be from the South to know what a holler is.
Exactly. But yeah, so yeah, we'll have to definitely get him on. Shout out to Massey. Now this has a pretty good cast. We got Bruce Campbell, Emilith Davidovitz, Marcus Gilbert, Richard Grove, Michael Earl Reed, and Bridget Fonda reprises her role shortly as Linda.
Yeah.
And I knew that she played Linda, but I'd forgotten about it until I saw her again. And she was in it she's in Army of Darkness, what, a couple of minutes?
Yeah.
Not very long.
But yeah, she got the little necklace in the first thing, and she had it there, so you knew who the character was. But it does a good job, I think, Army of Darkness, of kind of setting you up for, if you didn't see the prequels, to try to make up for it. But
yeah.
You still really don't get it until you watch them all.
That's true, and I think you could watch, like you said, each one individually and be okay, but you wouldn't get it. It would just be like surface. You wouldn't get all of it together and like take it the full course meal, basically.
Yeah. Yes.
But here's a few little fun facts. Bruce Campbell says that in order to make it appear that the chainsaw was always running, tobacco smoke was pumped through a tube that slid up his right pants leg, up his shirt, and into the chainsaw. Because that was practical effects back in the 90s, you know. And so
later on in that movie, you know, he makes a Iron Hand, you know.
Yeah.
He breaks out his economic books out of his trunk because the car, we're getting ahead of ourselves, but so the movie kind of starts, you know, after, you know, it tries to catch you up with the Evil Dead, but his car from the 70s.
The Oldsmobile.
Yeah, and they drop down into medieval times, the land of King Henry's men.
And they shoot that, I don't know if I have it on the facts here, but they shot that particular scene twice with the car dropping. And because somehow the first time it turned over the wrong way. But I was thinking, that car has like 1,000 lives.
Yes, it does.
I mean,
because it hits hard.
Yes.
And you know, they're all trying to hit it with their swords and everything. They're like, "What kind of armor is this?"
Because I'd forgotten, like, it is fish out of water because I was thinking about this today. Ash has only been in this situation for about 24 hours, not even 24 hours, because the cabin. How long does the cabin last?
So part one and part two happens in one night.
So he's sucked into the vortex of the 1300 AD at the end of the first night, right?
Yes, by the silent thing that tears down the trees.
Yeah.
And you never get to see the face of the Evil Dead, but you see the terror in his eyes as he looks around and falls.
So he's dealing with all this Evil Dead, fighting the Deadites from the first two, and then going to 1300, all within a span of like 16 hours.
Yeah, so he's had it rough. He's lost his friends. He's lost his girlfriend.
His hand.
He's lost his hand. He cut his hand off by his own action.
Yes.
Because, and you kind of got to get into it all. But there's so much. But
yeah, there is.
Anyhow, I think it was funny that the car lands, and later on, they bring him the car so he can try to forge something out of it, and he gets in the back of his trunk and he gets an economics book out, which is kind of funny, and I think it's economics or science, I don't know exactly what it was, but somehow that teaches him how to build this metal arm, like
a arm that what was that G.I. Joe Destro?
Yeah, and so that kind of replaced the chainsaw for a little bit. But before he got that, he was thrown into the pits, and he had to
defend himself.
Because they thought he was one of King Henry's men, right?
Yep, that's right.
Thrown into the pits, and then somebody, chosen one who's fallen from the sky, and they drop that chainsaw in, and he just jumps it.
That part was. I got a chuckle when I saw that again. I was like, ha!
But then you see the first of the Dead, and it's pretty good prosthetics,
I think so too, especially
in the time.
Yeah, at the time. And this movie, and we'll get into it in a moment. This budget was the most of this movie of any of the three, but still a low budget for most Hollywood.
But the first movie was strictly horror movie. It was aimed strictly as horror, and from the reviews, it said that people were leaving the theaters, people were puking in their popcorn. It was so disturbing.
Yes.
But now, if you watch it, you're like, it's kind of like Gumby. It's kind of like claymation.
Yeah, it's not even anything that you would be. I remember specifically, especially with the second Evil Dead poster, it had that skull face.
Yeah.
That when I was a little kid, I didn't want to watch it because it looked scary. The the cover in the video store looks scary.
When it gets cheesier, it seems like they started off with one thing that was scary, and they're like, well, let's
add this little, almost Three Stooges-ish.
Yeah, and I think they kind of ended up having good ideas.
Yeah.
But, I mean...
But it's went very far from where it started.
Yes.
It's not like...
It became a comedy, kind of... You know, there's a lot of cheese, extra cheese on this
Because the first one, if you think about it...
starts off very...
Well, that
crude.
woman gets... and I'll edit this part out. But she gets...
we'll say abducted.
Yeah, abducted by these vicious vines and trees.
Yeah, and so we can't say exactly what happens online. I'm sure what happens to her, but
if you've seen the movie, you know.
Infection.
Yeah, but nothing like that would be seen in Army of Darkness at all.
No,
because that would be like when I first saw that starting to happen. The first time I watched, I was like, "Is that tree about to do that?" I was like, "What?"
And then she becomes possessed and takes it back into the cabin.
Yeah,
and begins.
This might have been one. This might have been one where we do the trilogy. We'll have to do.
Because you really, it's hard to get up to par on Army of Darkness without looking at it because he comes up. Who's the arch nemesis in Army of Darkness? Evil Ash.
Yes, Evil Ash.
And that character begins in Evil Dead 2 because there's a bunch of little mini Ashes that and it's super cheesy, but. They end up, tying them all down.
Like the Littles is like kind of what they were. The Littles.
The Littles, just a bunch of little Bruce Campbells running around and, with their little chipmunk voices, and they end up holding his nose and tying him down, and he opens his mouth to take a breath, and
down
jumps in his throat, and then the eyeball on the shoulder, right?
See, that's something that I had completely forgotten about, that eyeball on the shoulder. And I was like, I just blew my mind. I was like, what if that really happened to you? Like an eyeball started to appear in your shoulder.
And then it became a head.
Yeah.
And then it became another body, and they ended up separating. So that is the beginning of the Evil Ash in Army of Darkness. So you don't get all that information.
If you're not caught up.
If you're not caught up.
The past ones. But. And you were talking about to this a little bit earlier. All three Evil Dead films can be seemingly cut together, which has been done by fans, through the introduction, through some introductory footage in the sequels, if you cut some of that out. But there's, it pretty much chronically goes pretty, because in part 2, they kind of do the recap of the first one.
Yeah.
So if you cut the recap out a little bit, edit those together, they could pretty much, seemingly be watched, I suppose. Which would be, that'd be interesting to watch that. I've never done it.
And it's cool because, he's got his boomstick, the sawed-off shotgun he's got from S-Mart. Shop Smart, Shop S-Mart. And then that's kind of how, the Evil Dead movie ends. He's still got it. When he comes out of the 13th century, he's back at S-Mart in the new day, which was what? Would we say 92, 93?
Yeah, probably
93, 92.
And I did like seeing, there's a scene there where he's scanning things really quickly.
Yeah.
And you can kind of see how the story is in like the 90s. I like seeing past movies.
Yeah, I do too.
And seeing like, oh yeah, I'd forgotten about that store. Like I was watching Clerks 2 and the other night. And as the opening shot is, they're like driving somewhere in New Jersey, but then you see like the old style Pizza Hut. And then they have like old style McDonald's there, like with the wooden toys.
Yeah.
And I just like seeing older things like that.
That's because we're old.
That's true. We are.
We want to be reminded of our youth.
Of our youth.
They were all wooden, and their action figures did not bend.
No. So the words Ash that he's meant to speak to the Necronomicon from the graveyard are, what's the words?
Klaatu, Varata, Nitu. But he jumbles it all up.
Now, if you listen carefully during the attempted bluff up of the words, he actually says the words correctly, and you can't make it out exactly from the coughing. But he does. I tried to listen today, and he does say it, but I had to pause. Not today. I tried to watch it a little earlier on YouTube because that scene's on there. And he does say it, but I had to listen to it like 3 times before I heard it.
He kind of coughs, and he's like, what was it? Nectar.
Yeah.
So he never gets it right. So he tries to remove the book, and then that brings the Evil Dead back, the army back, and the Evil Ash from Evil Dead 2 is he comes back.
Yeah.
And
Now I would
army.
I would have paid attention more if they were telling me what to say, wouldn't you? Like if this is between me being in 1300 AD.
Down, okay?
Me too.
I have to write it down.
Me too. Give me one of those feather pens.
I can't remember 3 words, okay?
No. And because I'm like, I want to go back home, so I want to make sure I get it correct.
And that was the deal. They said, you bring the book, say these words, bring the book, so we can fight off the Deadites, and we'll send you home. And then he comes back, bringing the army of dead, chasing after him because he screws up the words. And
so basically, he
wants to go home.
He made them all raise up because he said the wrong words.
Yeah,
he caused the army of the dead.
He brought them upon them, and so like the woman, there's always a woman of interest, and she actually becomes tainted and becomes a Deadite too.
That's true. That's true. Now, did you know that and you probably do know this, but the original ending was Ash was supposed to be, he took too many drops and he went too far in the future.
I never knew that.
Really? Yeah, there's a clip that's on that was the original ending, and the studio was like, that's too depressing. He's supposed to take 6 drops. He takes 7. And then he goes too far into the future. When he wakes up, he's crawling out from behind the rubble, and then he looks out into the world, and it's like a post-apocalyptic nightmare. And he was like, I took too many drops. Or no, he says, I slept too long. And then the studio didn't like that. So they had to shoot a new happy ending in which Ash returns to
S-Mark.
Yep. And battles the Deadite in the department store.
The lights start going flickering and everything, and
yep.
he grabs his Remington whatever he had, which was the boomstick from earlier. But
he got really proficient with that boomstick.
Yeah,
because he's spinning it around.
Yep.
And all that stuff.
And he's like, remember, and he tells you the gauge. He tells you all about the gun and all the model. And he's like, remember, shop smart, shop smart.
Well, he's telling the customer standing there that he's talking to is Sam Raimi's brother Ted.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So he's telling, Ash is telling him about what he did, and obviously Ted's, not believing anything he says until that.
I was a king at one point in time.
Yes, yes, and he's got that one strand of hair that's just kind of hanging down. Did you notice
the
that?
Superman curl?
Yeah,
he rocks that
curl. But the budget of this movie was $11 million. So that was a pretty decent budget for considering they've never worked on a budget this big, other than Sam Raimi working on Darkman.
And there was good effects, but there was some cheese in it.
Yeah.
Like when he took the book, there was 3 books laid out. He had to pick the right book and then say the right words, and he grabs all the wrong books. So the first one bites his fingers, and he's like, lets that one go.
It gets sillier every time.
Yeah, it gets sillier every time, and then he opens the next book, and it sucks him down in it. He comes back out, and his face is like 24 inches long, and he
shakes it.
And it's like 18 inches long, and it's 12 inches long.
Yeah, it's like distorted, but less and less every time.
They had the money, and they did some great stuff with the Deadites and the Deadite army, and the evil Ash, and even the evil girl character, but there they left the cheese. They decided to leave the cheese.
Yeah, intentionally.
Yes, definitely. I think so.
Do you think that helped or distracted from the movie?
I remember as a kid that distracted me a little bit because it was a little too cheesy, because it was kind of scary to me at that young age.
Same.
But it was a little cheesy, so it made it easier to watch. You could have a laugh at the same time in a horror movie, which is important. You got to have all the feels.
Right.
A good movie, you got to have love, love lost, love earned, whatever, and the comedy and the horror.
Well, I think they also, like on this one, they just pretty much, like you said, like the first one, like especially when I saw it, I thought it was supposed to be a scary movie. Second one was like a blend of the two. And this one leaned more into comedy, I guess, than the others.
Yeah, the second one kind of went that way halfway through.
Yeah, but balanced it out.
Halfway through when he got into the lighthouse, which where a bunch of the little minimies of him started to appear. So that's when it started getting really cheesy.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think when I was younger, I felt the same thing because I thought it was the previews that I saw. I didn't think it was supposed to be cheesy. Like I didn't. That's not what I had in my mind.
Yeah.
But when I saw it, it was a little cheesier.
And then it got cool because he went in there because Evil Ash got into his shoulder and his arm was being taken over. His blood vessels were being pumped full of black stuff, and then that's when he decides to go out and lop it off.
Right.
And I think that's where he kills Linda.
I think it is too.
And
this one, Army of Darkness, is not nearly as bloody.
No, it's
as
not.
The other. But they gave, this surprised me. I listened to a video today, and they gave this movie an R rating. And they originally wanted to give this movie an NC-17, and the reason that I
can't fathom that because there's no nudity.
No, very little cussing. To be honest with you, all the violence is like it's not realistic violence.
The catchphrases weren't like rough and tough. Is like give me some sugar, baby.
Yeah, nothing outlandish. But the reason that I found out is because the first two they went around the MPAA. Didn't get their rating and just released the movie non-rated, and I think the MPAA got upset, so gave Army of Darkness a rated R when it should have had like a PG-13.
PG-13, yeah.
That's what I think. It's got a Rotten Tomatoes score of 68%, audience score of 87, and IMDb score of 7.4. So all pretty good.
It's not bad considering.
Yeah, not bad.
How they rate things there.
So what about the plot of the story that you want to say that we've not said? Have we covered most plot points of the story, do you think?
Yeah, we covered a lot of it because he lands. He gets taken in by. He gets taken in with King Henry's men, who are supposedly
because he apparently pretty much saves them at the beginning or near the beginning.
They toss him in the pit, and he earns their respect by killing one of the Deadites that they kept in this pit that has, made many other soldiers at the time meet their end.
Right.
But so they toss him down. His chainsaw jumps up. Boom.
That was a funny scene.
Gets his chainsaw, cranks it with his arm pull, kills the monster, and gets up. And remember, they chops off the monster's hand, and the hand goes up and lands on somebody's mouth, and that's another cheesy thing.
Oh yeah.
So there's definitely playing cheese in this.
Yeah,
and
there's playing little things like where he's like he says something about that guy's shoe, and then the guy looks down and he punches him.
Yeah, he said, "Your shoe's untied," and he looks down and there's little cheesy things throughout the whole thing. So he gets caught. He gets thrown into the pit. That he earns the respect. They waiting him to go get the book. He goes, finds the book, which we mentioned where he had trouble saying the words. So he comes back.
Did they tell him there's 3 books there? They don't, do they?
No.
They only say 1. Then what would you do if there were 3?
I'd grab the middle one.
Me too.
But he grabs the left one, and then he grabs the right one.
Why would you not grab the middle one?
Yeah, it's like center point. It's like the center point.
That's the first one I would grab.
It's like the baby in the manger, man. That's the guy. So he comes back running from the nothingness, like kind of that follows him in Evil Dead 1,
right.
Evil Dead, and he said, "Okay, I did my part. I got your stupid book. Do your
send
part,
me
send me home." And then he gets a little soft-heartedness from the woman who's like, "I thought you cared. You came here," but she later on becomes Evil Ash's evil girlfriend.
Woman.
Yes.
Is she's the same one that's earlier feeding him
fruit
and wine and all that? And I found that scene kind of funny. That 1 minute all this is in 24 hours.
And at first, she's the one who throws the rock and hits him in the head and makes him fall into the
yes.
pit. He's like, I'm not who you think I am. Tell him
I don't know you, basically.
Tell him I don't know you. He's like, I don't think they'll listen, lad. And
I'd forgotten she was the one that throws the rock.
Yeah, but then
she throws a big rock.
A big rock.
Hits him in the side of the head.
And then he gets the juice and the grapes and stuff like that, the wine and the grapes, and that's when he starts making his new hand. And
yes.
Goes off to find the books. Comes back. Didn't quite do the job right, so on comes all of the army. And I thought that was cool because there were so many skeletons, like a skeleton army. There were skeletons walking, so very CGI. But at the time, I bought it.
I did too.
You know what I mean?
I thought it at the time. I was like, "This is cool,"
and then
especially for an early teen. This is a cool because you don't see that often.
Like skeletons just getting up because it reminds me of like Magic of the Gathering or something now. Like,
oh yeah,
dredge skeletons or something. But so. He sets the tone, comes back, and he decides to save the day because the woman talks him into it.
Yeah.
Then becomes evil, and it was kind of cheesy because there was one of the undead, I guess you would say, had the wings. Remember, had
Yes.
these big like pterodactyl wings. Flies down, grabs her.
I'd forgotten about that too.
And takes her to the evil Ash guy.
And then he has to.
Remember the famous line he says, when he's with the girl, he says, give me some sugar, baby, or whatever. And then when she gets with evil Ash, he has, no lips, his teeth are all exposed.
Yeah,
he's
yeah.
rotten. He's like, give me some sugar, baby.
Yeah, kind of like
So
that.
It's more cheese, but I welcome the cheese on this movie.
Me too. I mean, it was much welcome, and I'd forgotten, to be honest, that it was really as cheesy as it was.
But what was weird was there was a book that was released. I can't remember, you might know who it was released by, but they released a book, Necronomicon Ex Mortis, and it's filled with spells and stuff like this. But I think it was like Lovecraft or maybe somebody. Had
Yeah,
something to
I
do
think
with
so.
Somebody in. So, but some people took it like
a real
religion, like this is Wicca. These are
true words.
Because I remember a buddy had the book and I had to borrow it. I wanted to see what it was about because I saw the movies.
Right.
And I said, okay, whatever.
Now, if you really
But
found
it had the to bring back the dead.
Now, if you really found that in real life, especially in the new Evil Dead versions, would you read a spell out of it?
No.
The new one's like got barbed wire or something on it?
Yeah.
Human flesh
it's
and blood?
bound in human flesh, written in human blood, and
I wouldn't be reading anything out of it.
So even the new Evil Dead that was released in the later 2000s, had the girl that had the drug problem, and they sent her to the cabin with friends, and they weren't going to let her leave until she got off the drugs or whatever.
And that was a rough one too.
And that was very rough. That's very violent scenes in that movie. Not much cheese. No cheese in that movie.
I don't even know. It's depressing the whole movie because it's got a down. I remember watching it and thinking, this is nothing like. I mean, I thought they did a good job, but it's nothing like the original three.
No, but it was a cool turn on events because nobody believed her because she said, "I need to get out of here. I need to get out of here," because she was also abducted by the trees, like in the first Evil Dead.
Ash was.
Yeah, and comes back and oh man.
Did you watch the
scene with the shot and the guy?
That eye?
Yes. Oh my God.
Yes, I've only watched it twice, but it's a hard watch.
It is a hard watch, but it spares the cheese.
Yes,
it's a horror movie.
Yes, through.
Horror flick. And I think they were going after the first original Evil Dead.
Yeah, I think so too.
Because it's very scary. I remember watching the Evil Dead Part 1 for the first time, and you hear that old reel-to-reel play of the guy who owned the cabin.
Yeah.
And he's talking about my wife has been, taken by the
that
dead
old recording.
And, and he starts saying blah, da, 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 da.
And it's even creepy hearing that.
Yeah, it's creeped me out as a kid just to hear that. And then the woods started becoming alive and the dead started to rise in a sense. So that movie is very serious, very hard to watch back then. And I think they got us back in the late 2000s.
I agree with you. We know the characters. I think Ash is he's just a monumental character.
Yeah.
That I don't even know if I could see any other actor like play Ash after seeing Ash play him.
No.
I don't see anybody else.
I don't see Tom Cruise.
No.
He was great in Legend.
Right. Could you see like if they recast and did a reimagining of Evil Dead not exactly the way, but a very similar way, the same named characters, would they have I would even try something like that.
No. Imagine if it was Christopher Reeves because he had the Superman curl that Bruce had.
Yeah.
That curl in there.
Now, did he have that curl in the other two movies?
Yeah, I think he did.
Did he?
And it kind of was
his trademark or something?
Guess, maybe. It's just.
Now, do you have a favorite or least favorite scene from Army of Darkness?
Like I said, it's probably my least favorite scene is when he's picking the wrong books.
Right.
After he says the wrong words.
Just because it gets so cheesy
It
there?
gets so cheesy. But when he does get knocked down into the pit and you see just like bubbles and hands coming out from under the water, I remember getting intrigued like,
something's up.
Because we haven't got to see, what we're dealing with, who's the bad guy. But they've actually captured one of the Deadites, and they keep him in this pit.
Yeah.
Alexander?
I think so.
Was that the guy? I can't remember.
Seems like.
The opposing force of King Henry's men. But, so I thought that was it was cheesy because it was a fight scene, and that zombie Deadeye, whatever you want to call it, starts doing somersaults.
Yes.
And like does the Rochambeau, like, you know, like swinging her fist.
There's like 2 or 3 somersaults, doesn't she?
She does like 2 or 3 somersaults and swings her fist 1, 2, 3, you know, like in a circle, like some like Cassius Clay stuff, you know, and then pops him in the face. So I mean, even though it was cheesy there,
like there's a lot of those slapstick moments in Army of Darkness.
It is, yeah.
You know, I think that's probably part of the charm of it. I was trying to think if I had any. You know, I do like when he's, you know, the boomstick. That's obviously a classic scene. But I like his recollection when he's telling the customer at S-Mart at the end just about the story, and then here so happens to come one last Deadeye.
Yeah. The lights start shaking,
and she's doing somersaults too.
She kind of does, yeah.
Yeah, and he misses. He's got that shotgun. So shotgun holds 2.
Yeah, well, some of them
double-barreled.
It can have, you know, like a chamber underneath that pops, but they don't have as many shots as he took.
He took at least
30 shots,
yes,
you know?
yes.
And he jumps on, but like I don't think it was like a buggy or anything, but he jumps on like some dolly or something sliding.
Yes,
that thing is floating in the air.
He jumps on. I've noticed that. It's that thing that you see sometimes, like at Lowe's or something, like you can get on and it'll lift you up a little bit to like a higher shelf.
Oh yeah,
and it's got a light on it, like that blue Kmart light special.
Yeah,
and he's going down shooting.
Yeah. And then when he's done, and he shows everybody, you know, that, like, you know, I told you I was Ash, I was king, baby. You know, shop smart, shop S-Mart, and that always stuck with me. And
they should. Is there an S-Mart in real life? There's not, is there?
No, but
I didn't think so.
I'm glad that they're.
I wish there would have been
Kmart.
Yeah. Do you ever miss Kmart?
I worked there.
Did you?
Yeah.
At Big Kmart?
That was my first job.
Really?
When I was 15.
Wow.
I worked there, and then I ended up getting my last one when I was 16, and I worked there for a little bit. But
they had the blue light special there, didn't they?
They had the blue light specials. Thank God I didn't have to get on the intercom and say much. Usually they'd be like, go straighten up the shelves, and I just stayed in Legos forever because everybody put the Legos in the wrong place.
Right.
And I just spent all my time.
That's so cool.
Very proud because I have OCD, and all my Legos are right, all the way from Harry Potter to Star Wars Legos. I kept them.
That's so cool. I didn't know that you worked there.
Yeah, I got fired.
What'd you get fired for?
Okay, so I'm not a hunter.
Right.
I don't know things about hunting.
Me either.
So it was hunting season.
Okay.
And the guy in the, you know, the gun section and signs fishing license, hunting license, all that stuff, he was gone. So they send me back there. I've never done it before in my life. And, you know, I filled out a couple. Maybe I did it right. Maybe I filled out the forms right. I don't know. But this one guy caught on. He's like, hey, I don't think you know what you're doing. And I was like, yeah, you know, I think you're right. You know, so I go up to the front and tell him what you need. And he's like, I'm not going to do that. They're going to make me come right back here. And I'm like, yeah, and you're going to have to deal with me. And I don't know anything. So, due to my inadequacies about
sporting goods,
fishing lessons and hunting lessons, and filling them out wrong, because there's a lot of different lessons, because there's certain times of years you can kill certain types of animals, and I didn't know all this stuff being 15 years old,
and you're not raised, used to working that section,
raised a pioneer or anything,
right? We weren't Daniel Boone.
Yeah.
I don't know any of the stuff that you're talking about either. I know they exist,
but they're very particular, and that guy knew that. And he knew I was an idiot. So
they let you go over that.
They let me go.
Wow, we learned something new tonight. I never knew that.
I tried.
You did try.
Then I went to college.
Okay.
For a long, long time.
Yeah, I understand that. The score and the music, this has a good score. I really think I think score and the music adds so much
just
to the movie.
Intro music. Did you have that playing at the beginning of the show?
Yeah.
Like where the credits are rolling. It's just good, creepy little.
Yeah, and it gets you like to feel the movie and kind of what you're up against. And a good scene, even if it's quiet, that music can just slowly come in and just give it that extra. Yep. And I think they do a good job
music
in this
ties
movie.
in art
very nicely.
Because without music, of course the old saying, life would be a mistake. And I agree with that because as a musician, but it really puts visual together.
Yeah, I don't think movies would be what they are without music.
Because I've watched these people having these like come to Jesus moments with their in politics and stuff, and you see this mass group of people, and then you hear this just like a big snare drum start coming in, a cadence, da 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 da, and those people just started shaking the cages. I mean, music hits you in the emotions.
Yeah, I mean, and I know you know as well as anyone, like music. Same thing with like, you know, I've recently discovered it with nature. Sometimes music can like get you in the feels and just bring tears to your eyes, and you can't help it.
I mean, just imagine hearing an A minor strum for the first time. It's sad. It's sad. It makes you feel something.
Yes.
You grab a D chord. Oh, I feel happy. So automatically, these little things that a listener that might not be a musician, they don't know why they're feeling these different things, but
they're pulling on their...
It's the minors and the majors,
yeah.
and how it makes the feel for the song or for a movie, for a soundtrack or something like that.
And I think the composer did a good job.
Yeah, they didn't have, you know, like Vanilla Ice come in like for Ninja Turtles, go Ninja,
yes.
go Ninja, go. They didn't have anything like that.
No.
Because that would have topped the cheese.
Yes.
If they really had it. But I guess something else you got to talk about is not only that movie, but it led to a TV series. What was it, released maybe 5 years ago?
What was it, Ash versus...
The Evil Dead.
Was that what it called?
Yeah, and he had the little Indian buddy.
Now, did you watch it? Did you watch it at all?
I watched most of it.
It was on what, Showtime?
I think so.
Something like that?
But
I've seen scenes of it, but I've never seen...
They try to take it a little bit more serious. And
okay.
He's older now, of course, but it didn't have as much cheese. Like, it had...
more like
they had
horror
a
elements.
Budget to make the Living Dead
look
scary.
Okay.
You know?
So you would recommend checking it out?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Definitely.
What are the half-hour episodes, probably? Or are they an hour?
I think they're like 45 minutes. It took up like an hour slot. So they had several series, and I think it did come to an end, and I didn't watch it to its completion there, which I feel bad about. But I saw something interesting on Facebook that they're going to do a animation. So cartoon animation.
That's what you were saying. Is it going to be voiced by like Bruce Campbell and some of these?
So
wow.
And he's going to be the main character, and who knows what we're going to get into. But I think they had so much stuff they could have kept going on with the TV show, but maybe they lost some interest because a lot of people missed The Evil Dead. They missed The Evil Dead Part 2, and if you missed that, Army of Darkness, you probably didn't rent it.
No. Now, how much do you think Bruce Campbell's worth?
To me, he's priceless, but I have a feeling that he's probably one of those struggling actors because he gets such short roles.
Yes.
But
he's
for the roles he plays, I think he does great at because he has that very big booming type. I think his name was Boomer in what what was the high school movie he was in where they all became superheroes. He was the PE teacher.
He's worth more money than I expected. He's worth $10 million.
That's pretty good.
But a lot of, he was
in Bubba Hotep. He made a little.
He was in Bubba Hotep. You're one of the only people that I've talked to that's seen Bubba Hotep.
Yep. He was Elvis, so he thought.
That was hilarious. I'd forgotten about that.
That is a freaky movie because it takes you a minute to get into it, but if you get into it, you're like, okay.
Let's see the movie he was. I was trying to look at his films here. But I think that movie where he plays Boomer is
had Kurt Russell in it. Was like the father of the son that was going to the school to become a superhero. Couldn't establish his powers yet, but he finds them.
Let's see. It was called Sky High.
Sky High.
Tommy Boomowski, Coach Boomer, Sonic Boom.
Sonic Boom, Boomer.
So yeah. So let's see if he's on the poster of it. He didn't make the poster of it, but it is a Kurt Russell.
Did Farva make it from that crazy Super Troopers? What a leader, Cola. He was the bus driver.
Let's see. We got Kurt Russell, and looks like a bunch of teenagers.
Yeah.
Sky High.
That one, the main teenager in that, he actually went on to do a lot of stuff. He was in Santa Clarita's Diet or what it was.
Oh yeah, that Drew Barrymore show. That was a pretty decent show.
She ate people.
Was she a vampire in it? I can't remember. Or did she just
It was
eat
a weird parasite or something that got into her and made her.
Because it was like a.
And then they kept like this dead head.
Like in the basement or something, didn't they? Was that what it was?
Yeah, and so that teen actor, that's the last time I see him in anything.
The one time I went to see, Bruce Campbell had done this movie he directed called My Name is Bruce. And it was playing, it was like a Fathom event.
That sounds.
It was probably
familiar.
probably 2008. And I went to a screening of it and he was there and he did Q&A. And I couldn't think of anything to ask him, so I didn't ask him anything. But afterwards, me and a few other people followed him because we were going to try to get a picture with him. But I heard him turn around and tell them that he wasn't going to do pictures, so I quit following him.
And he says everything so authoritative. I'm not doing pictures.
Yeah.
You know, he's got that big.
Yes. So after that, I was like,
okay.
Yeah. I was like,
Thanks, Bruce.
Yeah. But other than
I would have taken high five, Bruce.
Yes. But I was going through, and if I'd had a poster frame to put it in, I had the original Army of Darkness movie poster. The original with the front and back, the back reversed. And I looked at it today and I thought Aaron would appreciate this. But I didn't really have...
You should hang it.
See, if I had I've got a couple poster roll holders, but I already have posters in them. But I would have brought it and displayed it back there. But if I can, if we do the Evil Dead 1 or 2, I'll try to do that for those. What about originality?
I think starting from where it started from is very original because obviously it took people off guard.
Yes.
They go in to watch a movie and they're throwing up in the aisles and leaving and crying. And I think so. I think they did more than they expected to do.
Me too. Because when you go back to the first Evil Dead, they didn't. Internet wasn't around. What did they have? Not enough money for commercials, really.
They just had the like you said, a poster that went along with the reel.
Yeah.
And
if they got lucky, they would have maybe a review in the newspaper or something. But this was a small movie, so they didn't have a budget for the original. So yeah, for this to have come from this,
they didn't go around and pump up their movies that they used to. Because what's that movie? You shot Virginia Running with Andy Dick, but Marshall. What's Marshall's last?
Oh, Marshall Cook.
Yeah, Marshall Cook. With the Division Finest.
Yeah, football's finest. Yeah,
they went Division III football's finest, which I think is it's one of my favorite movies, and I know it's as cheesy as it can be.
Had you heard of it before it played down there? Before you saw it at the theater that night?
The theater.
Had you heard of it before then?
No,
me either.
But they were going from theater to theater, and they were promoting things, and that's something they didn't really do. They sent the picture, they sent the reel to the movies, and then it had to get sent down to the next town, and the next town, the next town, and that's the way they've done it from the beginning. I have one of the oldest ones that I have is Gone with the Wind, and it's actually the paint. It was painted on slat boards, so it's about 3 foot tall, a little bit 3.5 foot tall by 2.5 foot wide, and it's got Clark Gable and Vivian Lee and it went. That was what would sit outside the movie theater. And so it's very weather damaged and all that stuff. But I managed to catch it at like one of those fall fling events. I was like, I gotta take that with me, and I would have done anything to have the reel to go with it.
Yeah,
because I think that's a great movie as well. It's
it
very
is.
Long.
It's
very
what
long.
3.5.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is 3.5.
And I don't know if it still stands, but for the longest time, it was the highest grossing movie adjusted of all time. Mm-hmm. It probably still is.
And a lot of the famous slang and famous quotes, or what I guess you would say, are wrong.
Yes.
Like "Play it again, Sam." That was never said, but people use that.
Or what the "Frankly Scarlet, I don't give a damn." Yeah. That's not the quote either, is it?
It's not quite the quote. Well, he says, "Frankly Scarlet, I don't give a damn." He does say that, but and that's when. Oh,
he does say it just like that. Okay.
And then she ends. Well, tomorrow is another day.
Right. How many times do you think you've seen that movie?
More than I should probably admit online.
Okay, I've seen it. I mean, I've seen it probably.
I haven't watched The Notebook, but I've watched Gone with the Wind like probably 100 times.
100? Wow.
So okay. I'm a romantic, but I can't.
Would that be one of your favorite movies of all time?
I'd probably put it up there. But definitely in my
top 10.
In the top 10, top 15 or something like that, because I do love horror movies more than all things above.
Me too.
And what about like a shock, like Tusk? That took me. If y'all haven't seen Tusk by Kevin Smith, I thought it was a comedy. Totally took me off.
Yeah, well, Tusk, he's working on making Tusk a trilogy.
I can't imagine we're going to go with the second one, because
He said it. I was watching.
The guy didn't die.
Oh no, he's still in the zoo.
He's still in the enclosure, and little.
God, that would be awful.
I know. And the little Sixth Sense boy grew up, and he's and I didn't recognize him almost.
He's grown up to be quite the character.
Yeah,
quite the character.
Quite a few different things, but.
What do you think about the poster of Army of Darkness?
I think that's kind of like a catcher because it reminds you.
So iconic.
It's iconic because you remember the movies from the 60s and the 70s where they were painted characters of the actors, whoever whoever, but yeah, all broad and strong. It looked like a romance novel.
Yeah. Yes.
In evil times.
Kind of also.
It was Fabio of the.
Of 1300 AD.
Yeah.
Almost like if you think about the original first two National Lampoon European Vacation, Chevy Chase is on the front, with his wife and kids, but he's got a big muscle. And then I think in the second one too. But yeah, I thought the poster, it's a standout poster.
Yeah, it's intriguing. It reminds you of the movies of old, and I think that might have drawn some people in.
I think so too.
But the chainsaw drew me in.
Yeah.
The chainsaw hand.
Yeah.
Always gonna draw me in.
Me too, because that's such it just looks cool. If nothing else, it looks cool.
Yeah, and he's efficient with it, and his boomstick, so.
And a couple of people had said, wouldn't he run out of gasoline and all that stuff? Possibly, but like we said, he's not there that long.
Well, the car's there. He could have siphoned some gasoline out of it.
True.
Who knows?
True. Very true.
He got that book out of there and learned how to make a hand work in the middle of nowhere. So
he's not that big of a bonehead.
No.
Because he made the hand.
Yeah.
He just gets little details wrong. Would you or would you not recommend Army of Darkness?
I would recommend it, and I would recommend it as a standalone watch just as much as I would to watch it in the trilogy, because you're gonna have to like scary movies at first to watch the first one, and the second one it carries on a little bit, but it's cheesy, and then the third one you're ready for to consume what the artist was trying to get across, which I thought was a totally different way than I would think that it would have went. Like if somebody said there's going to be a part 3 of Evil Dead and it's called The Army of Darkness, I would not think that he's going to be sucked back in time through this vortex and
me either,
and fight in medieval time and keep my attention.
Because do you typically like medieval type movies or more modern?
No, I'm going to say something that most people will disagree with, but I did not like the Monty Python movies. I didn't get it, and the cheese that was there that I did get, I didn't like the flavor. So I never got into the night movies, and I never got into anything like that.
Me too. I've seen them, but I appreciate for what they are, but they're not for me.
I like some of the Roman movies and stuff, like in series like Spartacus,
right.
Sands, and things like that came on. But I like some yesteryear stuff, but medieval times is not my favorite time.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know many medieval movies that I've watched,
but I think they played it off well, bringing in this man of the times.
I think so too.
The 90s.
I think so too. Anything else you want to add about the movie tonight, my friend?
$3.99. It's worth it. Just
I think so too.
Go online and say Army of Darkness. Pay your $3.99.
Now, do you think that the audience should, if they haven't seen all three, just go ahead and watch all three of them?
I would,
because they're each pretty short. They're like what, 90 minutes maybe.
If I knew how much I was going to like the third one, I would have definitely been let down that I didn't see the first one.
Right.
But I remember watching the first one because I got it for $1 from Video Depot,
right.
1 or 2, and then the second one, like you said, with the skeleton with the eyeballs
yep.
and everything. I was like, okay, it continues, and then I watched it, and I thought that had to be all shot in the same time frame. But you said that it actually came out like 6 or 7 years later.
Years later.
And I wonder if they just sat on it.
Well, Sam Raimi had went off to do another movie. The movie didn't do very well, so Crime Wave. So they went back to Evil Dead 2, and then Evil Dead 2 and Evil Dead 2 Army of Darkness was originally one script, and then they didn't have enough money to do the medieval portion in Evil Dead 2, so they made that portion part
I think
3.
that's probably a great decision to hold off and do that.
Because that would have been too much for one movie.
Yeah, because there's a lot of CGI that's going on to it, and that was kind of the beginning of CGI. There's a lot of green screens to make the skeletons operate and all that.
Because there's, what, hundreds of skeletons probably?
Hundreds of them. They're coming out of the ground, helping each other out of the
thought
ground.
this was pretty
Welcome
cool.
to the land of the living.
I liked when they were little miniature.
The little mini ashes.
Yeah, that was pretty. I'd forgotten about that completely.
That's what starts the evil ash, because they separate and become two ashes, and he
It was very Gulliver's Travelish.
beheads him. I love that movie too. Yeah, it is.
The Jack Black one.
Yes,
that's a fun one. I've only seen it one time, but when I used to live, one time when I lived in DC, it was up there, and I would see a huge billboard. I'd have to pass by it, well, just twice a day, but it was probably, as big as this wall. And it was Jack Black laying there, being tied up, and he was just laying there, and it was like, it had whatever the tagline was. It said Gulliver's Travel and the date. And I would pass by that probably 2 months. Yeah. So I've seen the poster more than I've seen the movie.
Yeah, I remember how he ended up on a boat, but he ended up getting in a big storm and then washed up in this mini world.
Yeah.
Everybody's really small. And what's the guy from that 70s show and Forgetting Sarah Marshall?
Jason Segel? Was he in it?
Yeah, he was his...
And there was a famous
wingman.
Woman in it too.
Yeah, which was his... who he pursued, but
I can't remember who the woman was now.
But that was a good movie.
I thought so too. Wow, that was like 2000, maybe. I don't know, 2008.
I like all movies.
That would surprise me. I didn't see you watching that one.
Throw another. Jack and the Beanstalk. I thought that was a great movie.
I hadn't watched that one. Throw another one out there that might surprise us.
Other than Jack and the Beanstalk, try to think something that might be kind of recent. I love the Mario movie that came out.
The cartoon one?
Yes.
Okay.
Have you watched it?
I haven't watched it.
What?
I watched the original one, like the one from the 90s.
Yeah, that was terrible.
I saw it in the theater.
That was terrible. But you know who plays Mario's voice?
Is it Chris Pratt?
Yes. And
it did really well, and people seem to really, really like it.
It seemed like it ended so quick, and I was heartbroken when it ended.
Really?
I was like, no, I wanted more and more.
Okay.
I wanted more Koopas.
I'll have to watch it then.
So it was
because Jack Black is the King Koopa, isn't he?
Yeah, he's King Koopa, and the guy from what was it? The School Fight with Ice Cube, and the other guy.
Oh,
little kind of squeakies.
Is it Kevin Hart?
No, it's not Kevin Hart, but it's like the white version of Kevin Hart. Really screechy, high-pitched voice guy.
Let's see.
He was in Horrible Bosses 1 and 2, the little guy.
Would it be, what's that guy's name? I see his face, I think.
He was in TV shows.
I can't think of his name.
I can't either, but I love the actor. But he was in Teacher Fight with Ice Cube, but...
It's that guy from, let's see, what is his name? I see his face, right?
So I watch kid movies too, so I don't let any of them pass me out.
So if you like it, you're going to watch it.
Yeah, I love all movies. I didn't watch The Notebook because all my friends at the time were like, all our girlfriends were trying to make us watch
Charlie Day.
Charlie Day is his name. I love that guy. He's a great actor. Yeah. But all of my friends got together and our girlfriends were trying to make us go watch Notebook, and we all solemnly swore we would not go watch it.
Okay.
It's like, this is too girly, we're not going to go watch it.
Right.
The weekend comes back, they come back and tell me that they cried while watching the movie, that they loved the movie, it was a great movie, and I'm still sticking firm. I keep my word even to my friends who let me down.
I will say this, I've watched The Notebook, and I cried when I watched it.
Does it get you?
Yes.
Should I watch it? Should I let it go? Because I've been holding this since I was probably 25 or 26.
See, I don't know because I've got something like that. I've never had a BLT from McDonald's ever.
Yeah, me either.
And I'll never have one now just because it's been so long. So I can't say watch The Notebook, but it's not a bad movie. It's a good movie.
Ryan Gosling.
He does good movies, and it did. I saw it in the theater.
I watched Barbie, so that's another one. Like I watch all movies.
Right.
Like I want to watch them all.
I mean, if you want to be in your feels one day, and it's not, I don't want to give away because it's not the way you.
All I saw is memes. All I had is memes.
I think it's a good movie. I gotta be honest.
Everybody says so.
It's a great movie. And I didn't bawl, but I did cry. I cried. Did you watch $1 Million Baby?
Yeah.
So I cried during that.
Do you remember the first movie you ever cried to?
What would that be?
I know the first one I cried to.
Oh.
And I was a kid, and I was in like middle school. And it was double date, and I went with my girlfriend at the time, you know, just little kids, and we watched My Girl. And when Thomas J got stung by them bees,
I was thinking about that.
He would have been an acrobat. I lost my stuff.
I thought of that movie today because I was actually push mowing and I got stung by bees. Probably I got stung there 2, 3, 4.
You were 8 up, dude.
5, 6.
We're gonna have to call it
7, 8. 8 stings. And
we get to get you some Benadryl.
I know, and I thought of that. Like that's why my fingers red. I thought of him dying. I thought,
like, I'm gonna die just like Thomas J.
I was like,
I would.
That's funny that I didn't know that was his name in the movie, but I thought, how many bee stings do I have to have before it's over for me?
Yes.
And I thought of.
Well, I remember I was like.
And that's a sad one, though.
Yeah, it was, but it's a good one. Veda and him. That was a great female actress.
Now, did you watch it in the theater and cry?
Yes. With my girlfriend there, and I was like looking forward, just like trying to fight back the tears. But
see, I can't remember the first one I cried at, but I've cried a lot. I've cried $1 Million Baby. I cried on that. The Notebook. I cried on that one. I mean,
what about the Neverending Story when
the horse
Artex
gets
lost in the swamp of sadness?
Yeah,
come on, Artex. Would you want to hear something sadder?
What?
So the actor that played what was his name?
His name terrible. Is.
I've watched it many times.
It's not.
What is terrible? But anyhow,
shoot, what is his name?
They offered to give him the horse, right?
Right.
But he lived in another country, and they couldn't get the horse to him. So they ended up shooting the horse. So the
horse really died.
Artex really did die after the movie because they tried to give it to him and he couldn't take it, and then
Atreyu.
Yes, and you know what? That's coming out this year. A new redo of that.
Are they doing a new one of it?
So is the Labyrinth. They're doing the Labyrinth again.
I saw that they were doing the Labyrinth.
I find it hard to replace David Bowie, but they got old. What's his name? The guy that I know. I don't remember actors' names. I just know him from movies.
Right.
But he's like the
Tom Hiddleston.
Yes, Thor's brother.
Yeah, Loki.
Loki. Yeah.
I think he'll do. I did see something about that. I think he'll do a good job.
Well, he's dressed up like Corey Feldman in his music.
Have you ever seen sometimes Corey Feldman's music?
Yeah, I get lost in those videos, the shorts. I'm like, oh my god.
I almost one time, because Corey Feldman, I don't know if he still is, but this summer, or at least spring, he was touring with Limp Bizkit.
He still is.
Is he?
Yes.
I thought about getting tickets just to see
it.
Just to see it.
He's not playing with the Angels anymore.
The Corey's Angels?
The fake girls that, so I'm kind of.
Have you ever done any research when he used to do those parties?
Yes, and they're pretty, he's kind of pervy, man.
I've heard I've heard that he lets the women in free, but the guys have to pay.
Yeah, and he says the Angels are welcome to sit at my house, and I put them on the Corey diet or the Angels diet or whatever. They have to eat certain stuff, blah blah. And he sits there and watches them. It's kind of creepy. Because
yes,
this is the same guy that a couple of years ago was ready to bust Hollywood on all the
pedophile stuff,
pedophile, sex trafficking, the dirty stuff. But he never came out with anything other than the first thing that he said.
Yeah, it's never been any
Corey Haim, Charlie Sheen thing.
Yeah, on the set of Lucas.
Lucas, and I hope that didn't happen, but I think maybe it did because Corey did talk about it during the Corey and Corey show before he
the two
Corys.
Yeah. You know what I did? That was back in like late 2000s, and for a while I was intrigued with that show.
Yeah, I watched it because I watched so many movies, License to Drive, and they were in so many movies together.
Yeah.
And what's the great one that had Chris McDonald in it? It had him and Joaquin Phoenix brother's name?
Oh,
River Phoenix. River Phoenix was in as young. So what was that movie called? They were out to go find the dead body and be heroes.
It's called Stand By Me.
Stand By Me.
That's a good one.
That was a great movie.
That's a really good one. That one's got Kiefer Sutherland's in that one. Jerry O'Connell.
Yep.
Like a lot of.
So Stand By Me was good. It's like The Sandlot, but not.
But kind of
morbid.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's a good movie.
I think so too. We're gonna have to have you come back on, man. It was fun.
Yeah, definitely. Any movie, I've probably seen it. And
well, you can choose the movie next time. The only reason I chose Army of Darkness was just because I was flipping through the other day. We watched it together,
kids.
And I remember a while back you're like, hit me up if you want me to come on and do a movie show. And I was just going through, and I was like. Because I sent you a message randomly out of the blue, kind of.
You know what you should do, and this would be bad, and I'll hate you, but I love you for it. But have me back, and we'll do The Notebook. Because I've never watched Notebook, and I have no desire to watch Notebook. Okay. And to Nick Hurt out there, and Brandon Rife, and all the people who went and watched the movie after we swore we weren't.
Were they watching in Coburn?
Yes.
I worked down there at the time.
I remembered.
And I saw it. I saw it one Sunday. We would sometimes, if it wasn't busy, one of us would be like, "I'm going to go in and watch a movie during the last 7:00 show." So me and a girl that I was dating, Terry, went in there and watched it. And I remember
her. You guys came up when you recorded your music album.
Oh yeah.
So she came up there.
Oh yeah, smoking away
because we were late night recording some almost Weird Al Yankovic-ish type songs.
I wish that
Jared Bates was my neighbor there for a couple months.
Jared Bates.
When I moved back, he played guitar on that project.
Yeah, he had a Rolling Stone shirt on every day that we recorded.
Yes, and he played lead through all the verses.
Through every courses.
I love you, Jared, but you played lead through it all.
That was, what? That one thing in my life I wish that was on video was the recording of that album.
Because you have a great falsetto, but the things you were saying I can't repeat online.
Yeah.
But it was to creep.
Yeah. I couldn't sing those songs great, but I enjoyed writing those parodies. Yeah. They were fun.
But you also had serious songs because I remember the Troubadour was alive across from Bonterra, which is now El Dorado.
Yeah.
Across from the courthouse, which is
the Troubadour. I only went in there that time we played the show.
Yeah, we played.
We do have that on video.
We played a couple songs, Autumn Leaves and stuff like that, and we later recorded that.
Yeah.
And you released that.
Well, I got a song ready whenever you want to record again.
All right, let's do it.
Yeah. Aaron Lee, thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me, Adam.
Everyone, tune in to Real Talk every Friday at 10 p.m. The Other People Show at 11 p.m. Go to WLSDradio.com. And please go to all the social media. That's the Facebook, Spotify, YouTube, and Instagram. The Other People Show. I'm not sure what we'll do next week, but soon we will do The Notebook.
Yes, and so I'll watch it, and I'll have my tissues ready.
You should. Aaron, thanks a lot, man.
Yep, thank you.
You all have a good night.